This is the Heart of Singing podcast, the place where passionate singers and vocal coaches of many different styles will share their passion about the wonderful art of singing and making a career with their voices. I'm your host, Henry Crescini. Now, let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Heart of Singing podcast. I'm your host, Henry Crescini. Very glad to have you here again. Today, my guest for the 6th episode of Season 2 is an Australian singer-songwriter, Prita Grealy. We met online a couple of years ago. We were both taking part in an online seminar about music and music production and so on. So we stayed in touch over time, and I finally got her around to do this interview. It's not that easy when she's in Australia and I'm in Germany, and to do this kind of online calls because everybody's busy and time difference is quite a thing. But I'm very happy to have her here. She has a lot to talk about, her career and all the things that she does. She's quite a multifaceted artist. So without further ado, I leave you with my interview with Prita Grealy. Enjoy. Hey Prita, nice to have you here.
Hey, how are you?
Greetings to Australia. Quite a time difference we have, right?
Thank you. Yeah, it is. We've finally managed to coordinate our clocks and calendars and things. So thank you.
It's not easy. It's not easy. I mean, Germany, which is a country you used to live here for a long time. I remember we met through an online course.
Yeah.
And you were living in Germany, so we were both in the time zone of Europe. And then you went back to Australia, but we're going to talk about all of this today.
Yeah.
First of all, I wanted to ask you about your music style, because when I went to your website, I read hip soul folk. When I first met you, I checked out some of your stuff, and it was like, okay, singer-songwriter, but you do everything live by yourself, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What's the difference between this hip soul folk and a singer-songwriter?
So I guess I wanted to come up with some kind of genre, because people always want you to define yourself somehow. And I thought, I mean, a lot of what I do is singer-songwriter, like acoustic. But when I use my loop pedal, the way I use it is mainly for my voice to do extra harmonies. And then on a couple of songs, I do a bit of beatbox or a little bit of stuff on the guitar. And so I sort of thought the styles that I'm kind of blending I definitely have soul in my voice and in some of my songs. There's sort of that style coming through. And then folk, definitely with the acoustic finger picking guitar and songwriting style. And then the hip kind of part supposedly is kind of hip hop, but not exactly hip hop, but I listen to a lot of hip hop. So I think eventually it does filter through a little bit what you listen to, and how that sort of comes, like some of the beats I think that I have underlying my music, or the rhythms for some of my songs have got a bit of that in it. So yeah.
I think it's hard to come up with a stylistic description these days, because people have experimented for decades and decades with so many different styles. Like, you will have like a style with about 5, 6, 7 words in order to be able to describe it. But in any case, it's interesting about you that you are a one-woman show. It's you with your guitar, with your pedal. And when I heard your album, Northern Lights, there was a band behind it. Right? Yeah. But what's the advantage and the disadvantage to you between playing by yourself and having a band backing you?
I mean, I love playing with bands. I've been very lucky and blessed over the years to work with some amazing musicians, and I really do enjoy playing with a full band on stage. But I found, as a touring musician and moving to another country, it was just so much easier to tour alone than have to organize a whole band and all the logistics and expenses and things that come with organizing that whole show, you know, and I sort of got away with it for so long, just doing it solo, that I thought, well, I'll just keep going solo then, like, you know. And I quite enjoy traveling, and I quite enjoy traveling alone, because you tend to meet more people, because you're more open to, you know, talking with people, and when you're not in a group. So yeah, I think there's advantages and disadvantages. Like sometimes it can be lonely on the road by yourself, or you might not know anybody, but that can also be a great thing. You know, it can be really nice to have time by yourself to just be and think and explore the world, you know. So
Yeah, and speaking of exploring the world, you started out in Australia, in your native country, and
yeah.
at some point you decided to move to Germany. Or how did that come about? Was Germany your first destination, or you just wanted to come to Europe? How did that come about?
I never ever planned to go to Germany. That was not that there was no definite plan to go there. It just kind of happened. And I'm very much a person that likes to just follow my guts and follow my heart and follow where the wind blows, and just see what happens, to like feels like what's next. And I had a very strong urge to go overseas for many years. And I never know how far to take the story backwards, because there were other trips overseas before that. But basically, I worked on a boat for a couple of years in America and Caribbean, Bahamas, and part of that trip we went to Europe. And I'd been backpacking in Europe before and just absolutely loved it. Like it just, I went everywhere, and I had a big backpack on. I lugged my guitar all over Europe. Didn't play one gig the first time I went there, but because I was too scared to. But cool. I was just like, it was like my safety thing.
Where?
Just having the guitar
Where
with
in
me.
Europe?
Oh, the first time I went to Europe, so I think I must have flown into London and just spent a few weeks in London. And it was amazing, because like I had, before I left, I just got all these contacts of friends and family, and everyone gave me like a friend of a friend, or my cousin, or my, you know, dad's uncle's brother, whatever. So I had this whole list in a little book of people and places and all over Europe. So I went to London. I was in London for about 3 weeks with some friends of friends, and they offered me a house to, you know, to join their house, and they offered me a job at the place they were working. And I had this chance then to stay in London, and I just thought, no, I don't want to stop in London. Like I didn't come all this way just to stay in London and hang out with the Australian people, you know. So I was like, I want to keep moving. So I ended up backpacking through parts of France, Switzerland. I did a Vipassana down in Italy, and then met some people there. Then we ended up going across to Slovenia, and where else? I can't remember. Like just, you know, all this little random travels. And then from there I went overseas to America and joined a boat. Did a couple of years on a boat. Came back to Australia. You got to interrupt me anytime, because I'll just keep going.
Just keep going. Yeah. It's interesting.
So I did, a couple of years on a boat, which was amazing, being a stewardess, like just traveling all over as a sailor, basically. And one of those trips was back to the Mediterranean and Europe, and I just absolutely loved every part of that trip, of being in the Med and Europe. And about halfway through all that traveling, I had this big epiphany that I didn't want to keep doing that forever. Like I really needed to get back into music. Like my heart was just aching to play again and perform again. So about halfway through that trip, I just was like, okay, I made a decision. I'm just going to go out of my comfort zone and just go up to bands and talk to them and ask them. And so at the time I was in St. Martin in the Caribbean, and I'd been sitting on a beach journaling and writing and being all sad about my life and wanting to change everything. And so I made this decision, okay, from now on, I've got to say yes to things. I've got to get out of my comfort zone. And I stood up and started walking on the beach, and I heard some music in the distance, like such amazing serendipity, you know. And so I followed the music, and it was live music. There was a band playing at the end of the beach outside a hotel, which I hadn't noticed before. And so I sat down and watched them play, and in the break, I just went up to the guys and asked them, oh, hey, do you know where I could play, a few songs around here somewhere? Is there like an open mic night, or is there any other gigs around town? And they said, oh, just come back tomorrow and you can open for us. And so I was like, okay, great, thank you. So I came back the next day and played like 3 songs, and they loved it so much. They're like, oh, play some more. So I ended up playing quite a few songs. And from that, there was someone in the audience that asked if I would come and do an interview on the local radio station. And I was like, yeah, okay. So yeah, the ball
Was your own songs you were playing?
Yeah, it was at that point.
Okay.
Yeah. So it sort of was this thing of deciding to say yes and to get out of my comfort zone. And then every time we sailed into a new port on this boat I was working on, I would just always find the music and talk to the musicians. And every single time they asked me to come and play, and they were so generous with offering for me to come and play with them, So I ended up playing like in some amazing places that I never would have played if I hadn't have just sort of, started that conversation and got out of my fear of, what am I doing?
Yeah, it's quite a brave thing to do. Some people just stay like, no, I don't dare asking. And
yeah,
I mean, if you don't ask, you always have a no.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So how did Germany come into play?
Well, so then after a couple of years of doing that, I ended up going back to Australia. And I decided when I got back to Australia, okay, I'm going to go full-time into music and just try, because if I don't try now, I'll never know. So I just put everything into trying to be a full-time musician at home in Australia. And it went really well. Excuse me. Then I started getting more and more gigs, like original gigs and cover gigs and weddings and all kinds of stuff. And after a couple of years of doing that, I was getting the itchy feet again and wanting to travel. And I thought there must be a way that I can combine this, my love of travel and my love of playing music. So I booked a Europe tour, and I really booked really very random places, and met some really amazing people through the internet that actually helped me book gigs, and have now become very good friends with.
All by yourself, without management, right? You booked the whole, wow.
Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. But, you make contacts, and you kind of like, a lot of people help you along the way. So it's kind of like this mutual kind of, beautiful thing. So I did this tour around Europe, and part of that second time I was in like Greece and Denmark and Prague and Germany, a little bit in England and France, I think, and probably some other places I can't remember now. And that really got my taste for it, and when I went through Germany, I had such a good time in Berlin. And I actually wrote some songs when I was in Berlin. Like, I was there for about a week staying with a friend, and I thought, well, this is a really creative place and really good vibes and whatever. And so I think after that tour, I went back home to Australia, and then I decided, no, I've got to move. I have to actually move over to Europe now, because I can't imagine, like, I wanted to do that touring again, but I think to come from Australia to Europe and back is just, again, so expensive, to pay for a big flight and that long haul and everything. So I just thought, I want to base somewhere in Europe and just try my luck. And so when I went over that time, I ended up in England for a while, because that's where I could get a visa. And I was there for a few months, and I thought, again, I don't really want to stay in England. And so then I was just sort of looking for where I could go next. And I was sort of tossing up between Paris and Berlin, because I had one friend in Paris and one friend in Berlin. And I just sort of thought, oh, they seem like good big cities where I could base myself and, can fly anywhere and tour anywhere from there. And at that same time, a friend of mine out of the blue just emailed me saying, oh, hey, I've got a Viggy in Berlin. If you want to come and try it for a few months, see if it works. So I went over and tried it and just didn't leave for about 8 years.
Quite a story. Wow.
Yeah.
And you were touring Europe regularly during that time that you spent in Berlin, and you recorded music, you kept writing, composing. I mean, it was quite an active life. And then
Yeah.
you went back to Australia right before the pandemic hit.
Yeah,
Talk about
that's right.
timing.
Yeah.
What made you
It
decide
was
to go back after all that time?
I'd been having this feeling for a while, like a very strong gut intuition kind of feeling to go home. And for about a year I'd been feeling it, like go home, go home, go home. And I was like, I don't want to go home. Like, and so it was this big fight in myself, like my gut's going, you got to go home, and my head going, but I don't want to go home. Like, because I built this whole life for myself in Europe, in Germany. I'd basically started from nothing again in Berlin and built up having a music career and touring and being a solo musician in Europe, just living off my music, So to then have to go back to Australia and not be that anymore was kind of devastating to me, It's like losing a massive part of your identity, and, because I knew it would be different when I came home. And yeah, so I don't know, like it was this big fight in myself, and eventually I just thought, okay, I know, I can just feel it, I've got to go home. So yeah, I just packed up everything and changed my whole life and went home. And a week after I got home, I started working in my brother's deli full-time as a manager. So it went from a completely different career to another career, and did that for about 18 months, just working full-time, getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning and going to work, making coffees all day for people and managing this very busy place, And that was just, yeah, so I kind of slid in just before the pandemic hit, and it was like a month or two before everything shut down, and I thought, wow, I'm lucky I'm in the right place, the right time. And
yeah, I think you probably get like a, let's call it a message from above. or from your higher self maybe, but somehow you were told to go back home, right?
yeah.
Because you can be at home during the whole situation we still have. Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your discography, because you write your own material. I looked you up on Spotify. I found 2 profiles. I was kind of confused. There is Prita Grealy
Yeah.
and there is Prita. And there is this album Northern Lights on the Prita Grealy profile, but there are newer singles on the Prita profile. How can people
Yeah.
find your music actually? Is it available as in a physical format as well?
Yeah, I am, as a in the physical CD format, I was usually just selling at gigs. So I still take some of my CDs to gigs. I've only got a couple in print at the moment here. But yeah, I mean, they can buy it. I think they can buy it online through Amazon or something as well. I don't know.
Okay, good to know.
It's kind of gone like through iTunes and here and there. I'm kind of everywhere online. But they can just write to me if they really want one. I can send them one. They can buy it off me.
I mean, I always place when the YouTube video, I always have this whole description with links
Awesome.
to the guest. And if it's on Spotify, you can also read in the show notes.
Yeah.
The whole links, so people can visit your website and see you on Facebook and can write you directly, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So,
through Instagram or Facebook, easy to find me. Yeah.
yeah, right. In Instagram, you're also very active there. That's true.
Yeah.
And
I've even started using TikTok, man. It's like cray.
I feel like there is a sort of resistance against TikTok for me, but it's my age.
I just find it. I mean, I'm probably older than you, but I find it hilarious. There's so many silly things you can do on there, and but just recently, I've actually been reading or hearing about watching videos and stuff of people that have actually musicians that have done really well on TikTok by just doing little 15-second clips, and I thought I should be doing more of that, like. So I really just started recently doing that as well, just like the last few days, just posting little tiny clips of me singing and.
Yeah, I think you have to go with the times. That's true.
That's it.
Instagram has developed more into a video platform of sorts, and now you have TikTok as well. And so we'll see where this whole thing goes. But
Yeah.
let's go back to the very beginning. The little Prita, who at some point in her young life decided to become a singer. When did that
Yeah.
happen and how?
Oh, well, I always sang since I was very, very little. I have a photo on my fridge here. I don't know if I can move this for a second. Can I
Sure,
do
sure.
this? I'm going to take you guys on a little trip through my house.
I mean,
I've got
those
this.
who are listening won't be able to see it, but you can go to
Oh, really?
YouTube or Instagram and
I've got
see
a
it.
I've got a little
Yeah,
photo
there's
on my
I see
fridge.
the little Prita with holding a guitar. Yes, the guitar is bigger
Yeah,
than hers almost.
yeah. And this is on my very colourful fridge where I just have all these different postcards of places I've been. And but yeah, so little Prita was singing all the time. I had a guitar from a very young age, but I used to just hold it by the strings or
Oh,
or play it with the tuning pegs, because my parents were hippies, so they listened to a lot of Indian, meditation music. And so you'd hear this, and so with guitar, I just thought you had to kind of do the string and then use the tuning pegs to play it. So I didn't realize you had to actually strum all this. took me a lot longer to learn the guitar. I sort of started that when I was a teenager. And yeah, I think singing was something I always wanted to do, but in school I would always be part of any performance that was there. If it was singing or drama or dance, I would always want to be on the stage and doing that sort of stuff. But I didn't really pursue it as a career until quite late because I don't know, I think it was a bit of a self-belief thing. I think there's a lot of musicians fight with that feeling of not feeling good enough.
Oh yes, I think it's
Yes.
especially singers somehow. Yes.
Yeah. And so I kind of always did it as a side thing to whatever else I was doing. But I always found whenever I stopped performing or didn't perform, and even to this day, if I don't perform for a while, I get really sad. Like it makes me physically, I think, depressed if I don't play music. So it's kind of in me, and it's like I have to do it to be happy. So I think it was more a point of just kind of realizing over time, like, this is the thing that's going to make me feel like I've got purpose in my life, and like I'm, it does something for me and for other people,
And your parents were hippies. What kind of music was being played at your home? I mean, Indian music you mentioned.
Yeah.
And what else? I mean, this is a way in which I disguise the classical question. What are your influences?
Yeah, well, so my mum used to have this Stevie Wonder CD or tape. Would have been a tape back then.
Yeah, back then, tape or a vinyl.
Yeah, I think she had a Stevie Wonder one, which we listened to quite a lot. And I think my first one was Diana Ross and the Supremes, and then Whitney Houston, and all these great big singers, R&B, soul, kind of like I loved all that kind of stuff. And my other family, because my family were kind of split into two families, my other family listened to a lot more things like U2 and Crowded House and Tracy Chapman and all that kind of singer-songwriter band kind of stuff. So yeah, I guess they're my influences.
And did you take formal singing lessons when you decided to become a singer, or ever?
I did take lessons at some point, but more. I'm just trying to think. A little bit when I was in high school, because I wanted to be a jazz singer at one point. And so I was trying to train towards the direction of jazz more, which was more like, having to learn different scales and, different songs and styles and stuff. And then again, when I was a bit older, again, I auditioned for a jazz conservatorium 2 times in my life. One time in Canberra when I just finished high school, and one time in Western Australia at the conservatorium, and both times I didn't get in, and both times I was devastated because I just thought, well, oh my God, I just so wanted to be a singer, and I didn't know the other path to go. Like I don't think there's no one saying, oh, these are the different paths you can go for music or to be a singer.
Right.
You really have to just find your own way. And in the end, I'm really glad that I didn't get in that way, even though at the time I was devastated. It kind of pushed me to write more of my own music and be in more original bands and, you know, experiment more, I think. And then eventually to go off and do my own thing. So yeah.
But did you develop a vocal routine of your own? I mean, you were touring a lot here in Europe, and how did you take care of your voice?
Well, when I was in Australia, I used to always warm up in the car on the way to the gig. So it's usually at least half an hour to get anywhere in my hometown, usually longer. And so I would just do warm-ups in the car, like vocal exercises. And then when I was going around Europe, I'd get to the venue early and go to the hotel or whatever, and I'd do my warm-ups before the gig and then go to the gig. And so I sort of, I guess I kind of just pulled all the warm-up things I'd done over the years into my own styles in a way.
Oh, what kind of exercises were those?
Like things like mayonnaise, and like in going up the scale, and things like mingy mingy ma, and like things that using different parts of your face or your chest or your different parts of breathing. And a lot of the stuff is like breath control, I found. And even when I'm singing to this day, every now and then I'll go, oh, I'm not breathing properly, and then I'll be like, and I'll remind my body to just, you know, use the whole breath and my whole rib cage to actually support my voice more. Yeah, so.
Okay. And at some point you developed a singing course of your own. I saw it on your website. Tell us about it. What kind of course is that? What do you offer there?
Yeah, it's basically an e-course, so you can do it at home in your own time. And I think I divided it into like 4 weeks of material, but basically you can take however long or however short you want, because I've got a whole lot of videos of different vocal exercises, different breathing exercises, and then just some performance tips as well, and things that I've learned over the years, which I find really useful. So I've just sort of packaged that all into this online course, which you can find on my website. Yeah,
that's nice, because it shows that you have taken it seriously at some point, right? Like, many people are, which I don't judge. Many people are just consider like natural. I just go out and sing. But you gave this warming up a lot of importance. You were always making it before the shows. Did you ever have an experience where you didn't warm up and feel the difference, or what made you warm up always so consequently?
Yeah, I definitely feel a difference, and I notice, because I'm so aware of my voice because I use it so much these days. I'm very conscious of when I'm dehydrated, or if I've not warmed up properly. I can actually feel the throat, like the tightness, or I can hear the different tone of my voice. And then some songs I might go to sing, which sometimes would be fun. If I'd been warming up properly, I'd be able to reach every part of the song and big, you know, high notes and whatever. But if I haven't warmed up properly, I'm not going to go for those big notes, you know. I won't sort of like push it, because I'll know where my limits are, you know. Yeah, it's interesting. You can just kind of feel it. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. You mentioned hydration. Yes, you're drinking water very well. Very well. I have water here too, believe me.
Yes. Cheers. Cheers. Prost.
Prost. Salud.
Salud.
That's right. The people listening will hear my bottle being closed again. Yeah. How is your water consumption in general?
I drink a lot of water. I'm really sipping water throughout the day, and at gigs I drink even more. Mostly water. Sometimes I drink whiskey as well, or something else. But,
okay. Don't do this at home.
Don't do this at home.
No, I mean, everybody can. Everybody is different.
Yeah.
And
but yeah,
alcohol.
I found in like some of the countries I would go to, like when I played in Norway or Switzerland or some places like that, where it would be like really cold sometimes in the winter, and I would be like, I just want something to warm me up, like, and make my throat feel warm as well. And I mean, tea is also really good for that. It's probably a lot more healthy as well.
Yeah, yeah. I usually drink tea when I'm singing as well. And I know the winters here. And if you were also touring in Norway, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly, and I guess that's a lot colder there. I haven't been there yet, but it's way up north. So yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I've had a few gigs in right up in Alta and even further Kautokeino, just like the top of Norway and Tromsø and all these places where it's just like, you know, that time where part of the year it's just dark and you might get like this much sunshine, and then part of the year it's light the whole time. You have to close the curtains to get sleep because it's just light all the time. It's bizarre.
Amazing. And to think of the fact that you booked all of this by yourself, all these gigs, I admire that a lot.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Really.
I mean, I did also work with, like once I sort of established myself in Germany, I did find myself a booking agent, and I actually worked with a couple of booking agents then in Germany. And I did have some booking agents in other countries. So it wasn't completely by myself. But, you know, originally it was because I just kind of was like, just throwing everything at it until I got, you know, these booking agents that I worked with for many years. And then sometimes you'd go, like in some countries you'd work with different booking agents for different countries, basically. And then sometimes you just book the gigs directly yourself. So, and that's still how I work now. Like here back in Australia, I'm finally doing music again. Yay.
Awesome. I've been seeing you have a lot of gigs, and I'm very, very happy for you, really.
Thank you.
Yeah, I saw your Facebook post when you posted that you were working at this deli, and I thought, well, that's fine. It's a day job. We all I have a day job too. I mean, we all have to we have to make it somehow, to make a living somehow. And then I started seeing all these gigs. And we originally planned this interview for the end of 2021, but you were having gigs, and I was happy for you, and I still am.
Yeah.
But there's another activity you are doing right now, which I also find really interesting. It's these sound healing circles.
Yeah.
What is that? Tell the audience, please.
Well, it's really interesting because I kept getting these little nudges from people, and I have a couple of mentors that I have, you know, worked with over the years in both healing and music worlds, and I kept getting these kind of nudges to kind of combine the two sides of what I do, because for many years I've also been a massage therapist and done, you know, cards and intuitive readings and like kind of energy stuff. So, and I've always been very intuitive and very much like following that sort of path. And so it was kind of a way to bring that side, the intuitive side and the music side, together. And so what I'm doing now is like I'm having groups here at home in my house, and I've got all my stuff set up behind me. That's why I keep looking behind me. So I've got like
you can show it if you want.
Okay. I'll take you.
For those who are listening on Spotify or Apple or whatever, they will say, "Oh, come on!" But yeah, I see a circle of cards.
So this is a circle of cards, and I made these cards myself at an out
you made them yourself. That's awesome.
Yeah, so we can do a card now. Let's do a card. Let's just pick one up.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, it says discipline. I don't like that one. I'm going to put that one back. Mental. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like spontaneity. There we go. I like that one.
That's better than discipline.
Right. And then, but it's so meaningful. Of course, I'm like, oh yeah, I probably do need to be more disciplined, you know. But yeah, and this is my area that I've got. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I can. Do you have a singing bowl over there? And you have...
Yeah, I can even... Let's see if I can just give it a little...
Oh, yeah.
That's a beautiful big one. And then I've got a smaller one.
Ah, yeah. And you
And
have
then I've got like
flutes.
chimes, and these are actually I've got some beautiful Aboriginal sticks, like clapping sticks as well.
Ah, those are clapping sticks. I thought they were flutes when I saw them.
Yeah,
When I first saw
I've
them.
got a couple of those, and I've got some things that were gifted to me by some of my one of my very close friends, who's a performer, Aboriginal guy. He's a dancer and singer, and very good friend. And like rattle pods, absolutely beautiful. And then I use obviously my guitar a little bit as well, and I use my voice a lot. So
So what happens exactly there? I mean, people gather together, and do you have you
yeah,
set an intention? Do you have like a program?
yeah.
Does it flow spontaneously?
Uh,
Spontaneously, what
the
happens?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. So I run like a guided meditation at the start. So I do like a grounding meditation and connecting meditation, and then whichever sort of theme we're focusing on that week is what I'll bring then to like the awareness. So we'll talk about like today, this morning I did one around the sacral chakra. And so I talked a little bit about what the sacral chakra governs and what it's about. And then we went into a meditation to kind of expand that and be in it and, make it healthy and stuff. And then I just take people on a sound journey where then I just stop talking and I let them go wherever they go in their minds with the sounds that I make. And then that part of it is very much me following my guides, really. So I would like to say I'm channeling the music. I just sort of let the music come through me. So whatever I hear, I'll just start singing, or whatever I get drawn to pick up, whichever instrument, then I'll just start playing that instrument. And sometimes I'm playing a couple of things at the same time. And sometimes I'm singing at the same time as doing the sticks or the bowl, or yeah. So it's
What do you
quite
sing? What do you sing there?
um so like I
With
have because we're sort of working,
intonation or toning? I
it's
mean,
different. Say again, sorry.
toning like, are there words coming to you, or what do you sing?
Um, at the moment, it's mostly toning, but some, like, because of each chakra's got a different word or a chant that goes with it that I'm using. I'm just using those ones as a starting point for some of the meditations. But like today, the sounds that were coming through were so different, and I was just like, whoa. And like I was doing things like and whoa, and like just really, I was doing a lot of higher range stuff today because that's sort of where I was being led. Whereas normally I might be like doing more like, and I'm just sort of doing different tones and harmonies with the bowls that I'm using, and also part of this is that the second half of the meditation, I actually invite the people to join in with toning. So then they use their voices as well and just join in, and it's sort of an exercise for them to start using their throat chakra more and to open up their voice more and give people that confidence to use their voice, because I think a lot of people feel quite shy to
Oh
make
yes,
any noise.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just a way to kind of help people, encourage people to make noise and, use their voice. And I love it. It makes me feel really excited it's quite a new journey for me as well. So I'm still discovering where it's going, and I'm just very much trusting the process, and the guidance that I got with it was just to show up every week and I'm doing Tuesday mornings and Wednesday nights, and I've got a small group of people that come on each day, and sometimes it's different people in different weeks, and that's okay. Like it's kind of changing as the time goes by. And I think the next step of that will be eventually to do it online as well and start doing maybe like a Zoom group or something, where people can join in from anywhere.
Yeah, I partake in such a circle almost every week with a fellow Australian, by the
Oh,
way.
really?
He,
No way.
yeah, his name is Kevin James. He was also a guest on this podcast at the very
Oh, wow.
beginning. He lives in Spain, and he does mantra singing. He sings mantras in Sanskrit, but he adds his own English lyrics related to the mantras, or the other way around. He also writes his own songs and he includes some mantras in them. It's really cool,
Wow.
and he does that online. So yeah, I think right now there is really a lot of interest for that in the world.
Yeah. You'll have to remind me afterwards that name because I'd love to check
Sure,
him out.
sure.
Yeah.
I'll
Thank you.
send you a link to his music as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And speaking of music, what are you planning to record? Are you planning to record at all? Are you writing new songs? I mean, you're so all over the place with the gigs, with the
Yeah.
circles, with the cards, with the massages. Are you writing songs?
Um, like to be honest, the last few months I haven't written so much, but before that I was writing quite a lot again. So I've actually been in the studio recently to record some of the songs I was writing previously, and doing some what do you call it? Sort of collaboration, I guess, with some other producers. So there's one song I wrote when I first got back to Australia, which has been sort of developing and changing over time, and it's a really good song that people really are drawn to. When I play it live, they're always asking about that song. Which album is this song on? And I'm just like, it's not on an album yet. So I recorded that song with a good friend of mine who's is actually the singer from Eskimo Joe, who's like a famous band here in Australia.
Yeah, I know. I've heard them sometime.
Yeah, so his name's Cav Temperley, and he's actually become a good friend of mine over the last couple of years, and him and his wife, and so I got the chance to do some work with him on some of his songs as well, which was amazing. So I've done a little bit of collaborating with him on his stuff, and then he's done some with my stuff, and I'm hoping to do a few more songs with him, which will be good.
So there's something coming.
And there is something coming, and I also have a whole album that I haven't released, which I actually recorded in Germany before I left, and with a very good friend of mine, J.M. Faulkner, who's down in Dusseldorf. And we actually co-wrote half the songs as well on that album. And I've released a couple of the songs, but when this whole thing of moving back home and then working full-time in this deli cafe and COVID and everything, it really threw me off what my plan was originally, to kind of just release singles and singles and singles till the whole album was out. And so I've just got this backlog of this whole album really that I can still release. Yay.
So I hope we'll be able to listen to it soon.
I should be happy that I've got so much material to release,
Absolutely. Yeah, it's these current times, right? People are releasing singles and EPs more than they are releasing albums, because I think the attention span of people is also kind of diminished. I mean, maybe it's a cliche to say that right now, but less people are taking the time to actually listen to an album from beginning to end. And so artists are releasing more of singles and EPs, and even with the singles, many people are checking they shouldn't be that long. I think there is a taste for everybody. There are people who still actually buy CDs and sit down and listen.
Yeah, that's true.
I will see. Then you will have music coming out soon.
Yeah.
Look forward.
I was planning. I was planning on doing another one of the singles soon, so I just need to get onto that. Do it. There's part of me that sometimes gets held back because I want things to be just right, or just
yes.
It's kind of this perfectionism that's not actually perfect, or I don't know what it is, but it's very easy to kind of self-sabotage,
Yeah, absolutely. So, I know about that.
You know about this one?
I think every singer, every musician knows about that.
Yeah.
So, Prita, it's been really cool to talk to you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much for organizing this.
I deactivated another podcast that I had about spiritual topics, but if I reactivate it, I think I will invite you over again, because
that would be great.
Talk a lot about this about the channelings that you do,
Yeah.
your work with the cards, also with the healing circles. But for
That
now,
would be great.
what I would like to ask of you is that you sing something a cappella for the audience.
That sounds like a great idea.
Oh,
I just have to think of a song.
yeah. Take your time.
Maybe, yeah. I'll do this one, I think. I'll think. It's funny because I'm so used to playing the guitar with the song, so I'll try this one. It's a song from my latest album. I haven't released this song yet, though. Does that matter?
No, it's fine. It's a premiere.
Okay. Ah, cool. All right. There's hope on the horizon, like a sailboat out to sea, far off in the distance, waiting for me. And the salty sea air fills my lungs to the brim as the sun sets golden over deep blue green. And I aim for the sun with my bow and arrow, the wax on my wings, my heart on my sleeve. I aim for the moon with the wind in my sails. I wish on a star for the love that will come. Da, 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 da. That's it. The guitar is really pokey on that one, so I'm like hearing it in my head.
It's a challenge to sing a cappella when you're used to playing an instrument, but that's something I make consciously. I make my guests do that consciously, so
that.
they focus just on the voice and express everything they want to express with their voices.
Thank you so much for that invitation. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's been a pleasure, and I hope we'll stay in touch. I wish you much success with all of the 1,000 things you're doing.
Thank you.
I think they're really great.
Thank you so much.
All
Ciao.
the best to you. So that was it. That was the interview with Prita Grealy. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked it. Check her out. You will find, as always, all the links in the video description by YouTube or in the show notes on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, or whichever platform you are using. You can also follow this podcast on Instagram, The Heart of Singing, altogether, or you can follow me personally, Power Channeling, altogether. That's my handle. So I hope you had a good time with this. Let's stay in touch through the social networks, and I hope you will be around for the next time for my next guest. I don't know yet who I will get, but we'll see about that. In the meantime, have a good time. Here, sing your heart out. Bye.